This is Dr.RED Panda.
Why is it that in some countries, people who seem weak, incompetent, or even foolish end up becoming national leaders? These individuals, who could easily be overpowered by any average adult, somehow manage to command millions, making even the strongest, most capable people obey their orders and controlling life and death. Hey, I'm Dr. Red Panda, and today, we're going to explore the real reason behind this phenomenon: the humans who are both kind and evil. Humans are not only the smartest species on Earth, but our moral beliefs are also filled with complexity and contradiction. We can display extreme kindness and selflessness, showing love and dedication to our fellow humans or other creatures in ways no other species can match. Yet, at the same time, we are capable of unprecedented malice and cruelty, often treating other forms of life with ruthless disregard. This extreme moral duality is something unique to humans. So here's the question: why, in the face of such violence, are we also capable of such compassion? According to Darwin's theory, humans evolved to walk upright to hunt more effectively, and to be hairless to better dissipate heat and increase stamina. In short, evolution is driven by adaptation to the environment. But if Darwin is right, why would humans develop such a contradictory nature? Or, from another perspective, what force is pushing us toward greater kindness, and what is driving us toward violence? This question has puzzled many, but recently, scientists have found part of the answer by comparing two human relatives, the chimpanzee and the bonobo. The similarities between them were so striking that for a long time scientists thought they were the same species. It wasn't until recent decades that subtle differences were discovered. So what are those differences? Genetically, bonobos are closer to humans than chimpanzees. Behaviorally, bonobos use violence much less frequently than chimpanzees. This suggests that the evolution of violence is part of our history, with violence broadly defined as any form of physical or psychological harm. In his book, The Goodness Paradox, Richard Wrangham divides aggression into two types: reactive and proactive. Reactive aggression is a response to a threat or provocation, like feeling insulted, threatened, or frustrated. For example, in a bullfight, when the bull charges the matador's red cloth, that's reactive aggression. Proactive aggression, on the other hand, is calculated and intentional violence, not triggered by a threat but with the deliberate aim to cause harm. Murder, political persecution, imprisonment, torture, and massacres are all examples of proactive aggression. This distinction shows that most animal aggression is reactive, with little to no proactive aggression. But with humans, it's the opposite. Reactive aggression is rare, while proactive aggression is much more common. Scientific research shows that reactive and proactive aggression arise from different neural pathways, meaning these two aggression types can evolve in different directions. They don't necessarily have to evolve in the same way. In other words, they don't have to both become stronger or both weaker. This seems to explain why humans have evolved such a contradictory nature. With that in mind, the question of why human nature is so contradictory can be broken down into two more specific questions. First, why is human reactive aggression so low? What force in human evolution has suppressed our tendency for reactive aggression? Second, why is human proactive aggression so high? What force in human evolution has strengthened our tendency for proactive aggression? In fact, answering the first question will help answer the second. To address the first question, let's look at bonobos and why they are less violent than chimpanzees. How has their reactive aggression been suppressed? Scientists were surprised to discover that female bonobos often engage in same-sex sexual behavior. All the females in a group typically interact sexually with each other, forming strong alliances. So, whenever an aggressive male harms a female, she screams, and all the other females rush to her aid, driving the male away. Yes, bonobos suppress aggressive males through the united actions of the females. This suggests that humans may have used a similar method to suppress reactive aggression, by forming alliances to sanction violent males. However, in human societies, these alliances were typically made up of adult males, so the result was often the death of the targeted individual. Looking at history, we can see that in early human civilizations, groups formed alliances and used capital punishment to force domineering males to adhere to egalitarian principles. This means that, in human society, those who were more violent and morally lacking were more likely to be killed. Over time, this mechanism naturally tamed humanity, making us more moral. But have you noticed something? The fact that humans established social control through collective action and imposed the death penalty on specific targets. This is a clear example of proactive aggression. In short, humans used proactive aggression to suppress reactive aggression. Throughout human history, reactive, emotional aggression has been increasingly suppressed through evolution, while proactive, planned aggression has been consistently implemented, allowing humans to wield overwhelming power to eliminate selected targets. This is the root cause of humanity's deeply contradictory nature. We evolved in such a way that our tendency for reactive aggression decreased, while at the same time our capacity for proactive aggression grew, moving us in two opposing directions. How dictators are born. In simple terms, humanity is constantly being tamed by an internal force. What is this force? It's the power capable of executing capital punishment, the state's violent machinery. Yes, human governments are built on violence, on the ability of a group to unite and launch proactive attacks with overwhelming force. This is why Richard Wrangham calls this kind of attack coalition proactive aggression, referring to a planned attack initiated by a group. This is the real core of political power. Unlike reactive aggression, planned and deliberate proactive attacks only make sense when success is likely. After all, no one plans to fail. Typically, coalition proactive aggression means the attackers believe they have a high chance of victory. In other words, the underlying message behind such an attack is that the attackers have a massive power advantage. Unless the attackers are certain of their absolute superiority, they would never act. Between states, coalition proactive aggression manifests as war. One side plans and launches the attack, while the other side retaliates, with both sides engaging in offense and defense, vying for victory. Within a country, maintaining an effective civil society also depends on coalition proactive aggression. The state uses it to combat crime, terrorism, gangs, or powerful rivals. Therefore, the state's violent machinery is the foundation of society. Without it, chaos would reign. In other words, when a coalition has enough power to control social violence in a region, it becomes a regime. However, coalition proactive aggression can be used not only to target violent individuals but also anyone the coalition seeks to sanction. So, whoever controls the coalition controls unmatched social power. As we just discussed, the concept of alliance-based proactive aggression carries the hidden implication of a significant power imbalance that favors the aggressor. In other words, the alliance has the freedom to impose sanctions on you, while you are powerless to counter them. Because of this enormous power disparity, you can only beg the alliance to lift the sanctions, but you cannot retaliate. Even if you attempt to strike back, your efforts will be feeble and ineffective, unable to harm any members of the alliance. This unique form of human alliance-based proactive aggression gives us a form of authoritarianism that other primates lack. Obedience and sovereignty are the most obvious examples. The relationship of obedience and command is exclusive to humans. For example, while cats may obey their owners, they will never issue commands. Issuing commands is inherently a form of threat, implying that if you don't obey, punishment may follow. In other words, the system of obedience is maintained through sanctions. In families or small groups, control and domination often come in the form of emotional manipulation or physical violence. The power to issue commands is usually rooted in force or the threat of force. Just like in schools, a teacher can command students because they rely on the teacher's authority. If you disobey, the teacher has the right to punish you, perhaps by deducting points, having you write an apology, or applying other forms of punishment. In large political entities, power no longer stems from a leader's personal strength, but from the alliance that supports them. This means that even if a leader is physically frail or elderly, they can still issue commands, threatening punishment for those who disobey. The alliance behind the leader provides enough deterrence to ensure that those who resist will be punished. This dynamic can be seen throughout history, from the religious inquisitions of medieval Europe to 20th century fascist leaders and even mafia families. Whenever the leader signals, disobedient members face execution. Whether they are followers, prisoners, or soldiers, they must obey, as anyone who challenges authority, attempts to escape, or refuses to comply risks death. This is the most fundamental source of power within a hierarchical system. The ability to launch alliance-based proactive aggression within a specific territory is what we refer to as sovereignty, and this territory is known as the domain. Simply put, sovereignty is the power to kill, punish, or sanction within a given area, ensuring the ruler is immune from punishment. Only rulers hold sovereignty over their territories, while the ruled have none. In other words, obedience is maintained through the threat of sanctions. However, beyond the borders of their territory, a ruler's declaration of an enemy and an attack on them does not guarantee immunity from retaliation. This could lead to revenge or even war. But within their own territory, a ruler can confidently declare someone an enemy and launch an attack without fear of retribution. This is exactly the exercise of his sovereignty. A dictator's power stems from their absolute control over the state apparatus. Under their rule, life, punishment, and sanction become mere tools they can easily manipulate. They can determine the fate of others without hesitation, as they enjoy supreme sovereignty within their territory. When the international community expresses dissatisfaction, it often amounts to nothing more than verbal protest, as they are accused of violating this sacred sovereignty. However, such abuse of power often leads to historical tragedies, from massacres to enslavement, from torture to political purges. Tyranny often arises from the concentration and abuse of power. At the root of these actions is the ruler's desire to control the situation, believing that they hold the power of life and death and can disregard the value of human life. This drives society towards extreme loyalty and obedience, ultimately creating a vicious cycle. Nevertheless, proactive aggression and abuse of power are not predestined. They arise from human choices, decisions made when individuals or groups feel in control of the situation. This, in fact, reveals the uniqueness of humanity, our ability to consciously choose our actions. Therefore, as society progresses, tyranny and injustice are not inevitable. History shows that violence has gradually decreased over time, and the coercive power of social mechanisms has become increasingly reliant on the rule of law rather than force. Modern democratic systems, in particular, have played a significant role in this, forcing governments to abide by constitutions, guaranteeing civil liberties, and providing people with a means to replace incompetent governments. Throughout human civilization, while tyranny has prevailed at times, it will eventually be eliminated by history. Just as humanity continues to seek progress through evolution, the historical legacy of dictatorship and oppression will be replaced by fairer and more rational social systems. And that's a wrap for this episode of the video. I'm DR.RED Panda. If any of you have your own perspectives, or if you think there are any errors in the video, feel free to leave a comment in the discussion section. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Until next time, take care.